Ladies and gentlemen, today I will be giving you 3 things that anybody who has ever manifested their specific person has done. So I urge you to copy and paste these into your journey so you can ensure that you manifest yours as well. But without further ado, let's dive right in. Point number 1 is respond. Now, I was going to title this video 3 things they stopped doing, and that would have said react. But I wanted a positive spin on this, so we're going 3 things that they started doing, and that is respond in this instance. Now, that is meant to be an explosion, but I somehow managed to draw a Nickelodeon puddle. But let's say your specific person has done something to you, or in front of you, or you've become aware of it. Let's say, for this example, they left you on red. How you respond to being left on red for each moment that it happens will be significant toward whether you fail or whether you succeed in manifesting your specific person. Now, what most people do before they get a little bit of mental resilience and before they really understand this work is they will react, which is an egoic response, which can often kick in the limbic system, which is our primal survival mechanism. Because believe it or not, despite how advanced we are, our mind doesn't really know the difference between a genuine threat and a perceived threat. So being left on red has literally never killed a single person, but because of the way that we react to it, it kicks off this limbic system, which makes us feel like we are in a genuine threat, as though we are going to die from it. So that is why it's very important to understand this and to start responding as opposed to reacting. But what happens is we react, which is as a result of the ego. Now, the ego is doing its best to keep you safe from mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual harm. It's got your interests at heart. It just goes about it a really weird way. The ego I like to synonymize as a child, in the same sort of way that a child thinks it knows best, but in reality doesn't. Very rarely do children actually do anything smarter than an adult, or at least more beneficial than an adult in a particular subject. And yet they always think that they can do it. And they're always like, oh, I can try, I can do it. Ego is the same sort of thing. The ego thinks it knows best, but what it's actually doing is often causing more harm. Because let's relay this sort of scenario. How many times have you been left on red, or you've heard of someone been left on red, and that's been followed up with, hey, where are you? You left me on red. Guess you're not interested. You're an asshole for doing this. What did I do wrong? I guess I'm not good enough. Or have fun with her, have fun with him. Things like that. Floods of messages, all reactions, all making yourself look like a tit, and it doesn't do anything good. Now, it doesn't do anything good from a 3D perspective, because you're berating the person or you're begging or pleading, putting yourself down in the sort of social hierarchy. But it definitely doesn't do anything good for this whole idea of manifestation and consciousness. Because if you consider it, if you have been left on red and you react in an egoic way and do everything that I just said, you're basically saying to your subconscious mind, he or she's an asshole, I'm not good enough, the relationship's coming to an end, they're with someone else, all of these terrible stories. And if you'll relay from Monday's video, your subconscious mind has no direction outside of what you feed it. So if you've taken all of those thoughts and fed it the direction of all those negative things, lo and behold, you get negative things. So reaction screws you in the 3D and it screws you in consciousness. And it doesn't even feel good. It's not even like reaction is like a vice that someone has, where it's like in the moment that you're doing it, it feels good. You feel horrible because you feel like you are about to die, really, physiologically. I know it sounds ridiculous if you were to say it out loud, as I just did, but when you're in that moment, when you're in such a severe egoic reaction, your body is quite literally in a state of, I think this is it for me. Anxiety spikes, spirals happen, adrenals get released, cortisol spikes. Your body is quite literally going through an internal meltdown. So it doesn't even feel good to do. But then on the flip side, the things that we start doing, I mentioned that I wanted it to be a positive spin, and then I'm just going on about reactions. we have responding. Responding is completely different. Responding is keeping the neocortex sort of in the driver's seat and actually working through it from a conscious perspective. It's not what comes up that matters, it's where you take it. The fact that you've been left unread, the fact that you've had some negative thoughts come up, isn't actually the problem, it's how you handle them in that moment that is. And this is why it's so important to respond as opposed to react, because responding is taking a second, understanding the situation, and going forward accordingly. So, take for example, I just put this here for you for if you're wanting notes at all. Neocortex. Being left on red doesn't feel nice. And I'm not sitting here on some ivory tower basically saying like, oh, well, why are you reacting to it? Just respond, it's all well and good. It doesn't feel nice being left on red. I understand that, especially if it's someone that you're really interested in, or especially if it's during some kind of conflict with your person that is making you feel very concerned. I get it. But if we want to succeed, we have to do the right things. So what responding looks like is some things come up, in this case, they're being left on red, and you stop for just a moment. You stop for just a moment and choose not to go down this route. And instead you take some deep breaths maybe, or do some EFT tapping, or journal about it. You do something to get those thoughts not the center of your focus for a moment. You get them out on a page. You do some deep breathing and engage the parasympathetic nervous system. You do some EFT tapping, meditation, anything of the sort. And what this is going to do is it's going to basically sever the tie between the immediate reaction, giving you the opportunity to get that neocortex back in the driver's seat to then respond. Now, responding will look different for every circumstance. But what we need to consider, big old line coming up, is how you can succeed or what you should do going forward to benefit your success. Because if all of these negative thoughts that go through the limbic system from the ego as a result of a reaction have you thinking all of this negative stuff, which is going to lead you to your failure, we now have to do the same sort of thing with the neocortex, where we consider the directionless power of the subconscious mind and then say, what would be more beneficial? Well, more beneficial would be thinking favorably, taking some time for me, assuming that it's not because that they've fallen out of love with me, for example. Assuming that they're just busy, they'll message me later. If you really need to actually look at the fact you've been left on red and make a meaning for it. Even better if you could just put your phone down and be like, cool, we're in a loving relationship, everything's amazing, all of these great things, which is going to feed that infinite power, the direction of success, which is going to lead to you succeeding. Because if something's happened and you've chosen not to react, thus creating negative, but instead have chosen to respond in an accordance to success, you will create your success. So like I said, I know it's not the easiest thing. I'm not sitting here on some ivory tower. I'm not sitting here as some monk that's like never had a bad day. I get pissed off at my kids every now and then, and I should sit there and respond, but I still react from time to time. It's definitely not the easiest thing to do. I get it. But if you want your greatest chance of success, if you want to copy and succeed the same way people before you got their person, this is what you're going to have to take into consideration. Something happens, it isn't what comes up that matters, it's where you take it. You are neutral until you give it a meaning. Do you react? Let the ego run wild, let yourself sit in that fight, flight, or freeze, tell them they ain't shit, tell them their mama ain't shit, and fail, for want of a better term, at least in that moment. I'm not going to say that one spiral is going to ruin your whole manifestation journey, of course, but in that moment, you have failed to do what will benefit your end result. Which, in and of itself isn't the end of the world. You could just take a little bit more time doing some more affirmations, doing a meditation or something like that, and sort of build up that dominant state. It's really not the end of the world. But if you want to succeed as fast as possible, then you need to stop failing and start succeeding, which looks like something happens, you're neutral, you respond by doing some breathing, some EFT tapping, or something to keep yourself calm and regulated. And then you use the logical conscious neocortex to understand, I want to succeed, therefore I must do XYZ thing to succeed. Affirm something positive, create a positive meaning, do a little visualization, or just straight up get up and go out and go do something for yourself until you feel better and then come back to it. This is the rinse and repeat process that you need to copy each and every time something comes up that triggers you. And you can use this for thoughts as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be something has happened in a 3D reality. You can use this for thoughts such as, I won't get what I want, and so on. But that is point number one. Respond. Very important. It makes the world of difference to just literally take 2 seconds before you decide to let your mind run rampant. Because that is literally all it takes sometimes, is literally just a little, no, we're not doing that today. And it can be enough to keep your mind under control. So just try that next time. Just try, something's come up, you've noticed it come up, you notice where you want to go. Because awareness is half the battle as well, ladies and gentlemen. If you can just stop for a moment before just giving in to whatever your mind wants to do, and just actually consider what would benefit you, you'll have a lot more control. A lot more control. Let me just get this gone. And then we'll move on to point number 2. We'll get rid of this. I like to keep the first diagram that I have just to kind of give you a vague reminder. I do it in all of the whiteboard videos. So number 2, we have persist. Now there's a right way and a wrong way to persist, believe it or not. The persist that many people do that haven't succeeded yet is to show up daily. I needed to consider how I was going to say that. Show up daily. Now you're probably sitting there thinking, Matthew, what the hell? Show up daily? Isn't that consistency? Isn't that persisting in the end? Showing up daily is not showing up where necessary. And that's the key part that I think a lot of people miss. I've worked with a lot of people, and I see this a lot where they will do the work day in and day out. Sorry, not day in, day out, but they'll do it daily. You know, they'll have their 5 minutes in the morning and maybe they'll do 5 minutes in the afternoon. And they're like, I'm persisting. I've been doing this for a year. Why no results? And what they're missing is in between that, so 10 hours worth of the day, they have been going up and down and up and down and up and down, reacting, spiraling, panicking, doubting, fearing, scrolling through YouTube for hours looking for the video that's going to give them the answer. And all they're doing, if we take this little diagram again, is they do, with these little like 2 morning and night things, they do a little bit of the right direction, building their dominancy arrow like that, for example. But then with all of this absolutely chaotic work, they're building a negative that much. So they're showing up day by day, absolutely. And that should be credited in and of itself. But they're not showing up where necessary. They're not doing this each and every time it's necessary. They're showing up morning and night and then thinking like crap all throughout the day and then wondering, why is it not working? If I don't eat breakfast and I don't eat dinner because I'm trying to lose weight, so I cut down those two as my calories. I understand it's not a healthy way to do it, but just indulge the analogy. If I cut out my breakfast and I cut out my dinner, I save 1,500 calories. Sounds great, right? But then if all throughout the day I'm eating nothing but Jaffa cakes and cake and drinking full sugar fizzies and having, huge lunches, McDonald's and KFC and all that lot, and therefore I've added 5,000 calories, does that 1,500 that I'm not eating actually really make a difference? No, not really. If I needed to be in a calorie deficit of 1,500 for the argument of this, that sounds great, doesn't it? Well, I'm not eating these 2 meals, so I have cut down on 1,500. I'm persisting. But I've added on these 5,000 for all this junk food that I'm eating. So in actuality, I'm just 3,500 up. That's not going to help you lose the weight for the purposes of this analogy. So this is the same sort of thing that people do when they show up daily. They do it daily, and they have done for 6 months, a year, 2 years, and wonder why it's not worked. If someone said to you that this was their daily weight loss routine and they say that they've been doing this for 2 years, would you look at this and go, I wonder why they haven't succeeded? No. You wouldn't even count them as having been on a weight loss journey for 2 years if this was the way that they were eating. So this is what we should consider with persisting. And of course, I say this with love. I'm not, if this is how you've been showing up, time for change, of course, but we all have to start somewhere. So what we want to start doing is persist where necessary. Persist where necessary, not just daily, but where it matters. Let's say, for example, this happens 10 times a day. This like sequence of something's come up and we have to then decide whether we fail or succeed. Showing up daily means doing something in the morning and night, and for argument's sake, we'll say that that is the equivalent of dealing with it 4 times. That's still 6 that it hasn't been dealt with. That's still dominantly in the negative. And this is being very generous as well. I think the amount of time that people will spend on these morning and night times is a lot lower than what most people who are really struggling with this idea spend in the negative. But just for argument's sake, they have to do this sort of thing 10 times. They actually do it 4 times. 6 times they don't, and they go into the negative. That means 6 times for failure, 4 times for success. Stack that up over 10 days, and that's 40 times for success and 60 times for failure. Stack it up over 100, for example, 100 days, which isn't even a third of a year yet. We're looking at 600 compared to 400. So they're literally missing out now on a 200 gap in just 100 days, 3 months and so. Now, I've heard people say they've been manifested for a year, for example. So if we stack that up over, I'm not going to do the full proper maths, but let's just say 300 days and just pretend that that's a year for argument's sake. We're now looking at 3 times this, and now there's a 600 gap in between, you know? So if we do this showing up daily, the gap of dominant state can often widen quite significantly. Now, I use these numbers just to give you some numbers. It isn't quite like this. You know, you don't now have to, from this moment forward, chip away at that 600 that I just used as an example until you can start manifesting. If you decided today that you're going to start persisting where necessary, you could get your result within a week, for example. I'm not going to make any promises on that. There are obviously some nuances to consider, but it's not to say that you have to chip away at this dominant state debt before you can get success. It's just to give you a visual representation of why some people may not have been succeeding how they would like. So all we need to do is persist where necessary. And what that looks like is just doing this each and every time it is necessary. I've had thoughts come up about my person. Are they good? Yes, let them play. That's good, that's fine. Are they bad? Yes, cool. Respond. Neocortex. What should I do? Do some deep breathing. Basically go back to this first slide. Aid myself in success. I feel satisfied in that moment that I've done it. Great, move on. 10 minutes later, it happens again. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. It's not something that you just do in the morning and night and never again, unless you can. I only really manifest in the morning and night now because I don't have many negative thoughts during the day at all. So I can get away with just doing these 2 little 4 times worth because I, at most, maybe have 1 or 2 of a negative. So I'm dominantly in the positive despite only doing little amounts. But if you're not in that situation, then you need to be doing it when necessary. And that will get you what you want. So that is point number 2. While I rub all this off, let me just kind of do my usual spiel. Drop me a like and a comment on this video if you have enjoyed it. And if you do have any other suggestions of what you would like on these whiteboard presentations, do let me know. More than happy to do them. If you do need any help from me on a one-to-one basis, I do have services available. I have phone calls, video calls, all that good stuff for you. But like I sort of mentioned in the past few videos, I do have the Academy now as a monthly membership. And I advocate it so much because there's so much self-study work on there, but also there are the discounts on one-on-one services if you still wanted to work with me. But on the Academy, you can get all my courses, every exclusive video, every one of my products, 25% on all of my discount, on all of my services, 50% off of the I Manifest For You service, private Telegram group, a free tarot reading pool from Katie, and quite literally more than that. So I urge you to join that because it honestly is the best value for money, to be honest. And if you still want to work with me, you get 25% off. Depending on the package you can get, it actually, I think, works out cheaper or almost the same price to join the Academy and then get coaching than if you just went for straight coaching. So check that out if you're interested. You would be wise to do so. The third and final point is detached or detachment. And this isn't even going to necessarily be detaching from the perspective of not wanting it or not needing to do the work. This just means trusting, really. It means taking these 2 points, responding and persisting, and adding them together. And adding them together, because if you can do the responding element, you're going to be stopping yourself from creating more of what you don't want. If you can do the persisting element, you're going to be helping yourself do more, or at least be more consistent with creating what you do want. Which means if we take that terrible drawing that I did the other day and take the balancing scale, if we take that balancing scale, the persistent element helps us add weight to creating what we want, and the responding scale, which will obviously make it heavier, the responding will help us take things off of the negative scale, thus making that lighter. Now, if you have, let's say that there was £5 worth of stuff on those weights to begin with, even if you added nothing to the positive side, but you took off the negative would still tip. If you add to the positive would still tip. If you do both, it tips to a much greater degree. Now, if you're doing good at creating what you want, and you're doing good at stopping yourself from creating what you don't want through persisting and responding, that will help you have that big old T word, trust, that what is going on in consciousness is actually working. Trusting that that infinite power is going to be working for you. Because if you're here, if you are watching this video, especially if you're 26 minutes through this video, you believe in this stuff. You practice it, you want it to work. Which means byproduct of that, if you are here, you must, to some degree, trust that the subconscious mind will get you what you want. Now, if you are responding, thus taking weight off the negative, so you're not creating more of what you don't want, and you are persisting, thus adding positive weight to the positive, thus creating what you do want, then you can shut up and relax. I say that with love, of course, but you can trust, you can detach, you can let the subconscious mind does what the subconscious mind is built to do, which is bring you your reality. You can go through your day not concerned because you know there's working in the background. You can go through your day actually living your life because things are happening in the background. Being the best version of you, working on your self-concept if there's areas, working on your money if there's areas you need to work on, working on your physique or your dream house or whatever. Because if you are responding and persisting, you can naturally detach, because there's only 2 sides to this scale. Only 2 sides, positive and negative. If the positive is going down, the negative is going up. What more do you need to do? From a logical perspective, if you were to just simply look at this, assuming, you had an understanding of what this was based on watching this video. If you were to look at this and say, well, that's going down, that's going up, must be added weight to this side, and that side is you getting what you want, you ain't got to worry anymore. You know what I mean? You can chill. It's working. If you can take the personal inventory day by day to say, yes, I am doing this correctly, and I'm doing this correctly, what more is there left for you to do? Nothing. So enjoy your damn life, relax, let it happen, persist until it hardens into fact, and you, my good friend, will have your result. that is it for today's video. I really hope you have enjoyed. In fact, I know you've enjoyed these. You guys love the whiteboard videos. I don't know why it's taken me so long to start doing them again, but I'm enjoying them. You guys are enjoying them. Make sure you drop me likes and comments and stuff, because it boosts the algorithm and it lets me know you have enjoyed these videos, so I know to do more. And of course, comment what you would like to see. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and be sure to click that bell icon, because that way you then won't miss any future videos that will change your life, to be honest. And if you want to work with me on a one-to-one basis, I do have services, I have products, I have the membership, the academy and such, all designed to help you succeed. And I'll say it now, just because I think that's possibly one of the reasons why people may not necessarily check if we're looking at it from a 3D perspective from just a moment, but this stuff is extremely affordable. One of the comments that I receive most is just how affordable my stuff is. So if you think price is the reason you don't want to have a look, I still urge you to go check it out, because I want to help as many of you as possible. So I keep it affordable for the masses. But thank you very much for being here with me and supporting me on this channel for the years that you have. Copy this, add it into your own routine, into your own process, and I'll catch you lovely people in the next one.